Burnout rates in adults with ADHD are 93% compared to just 30% in the general population. And studies have shown that if you have ADHD, your job burnout may be over 50% higher than those without ADHD. Fatigue, a core component of burnout, is also significantly higher when you have ADHD, while around 18% of the general population reports clinically significant fatigue. This figure rises to about 54 among adults with ADHD. In other words, more than half of ADHD adults report persistent fatigue and exhaustion at a rate 3 times higher than the neurotypical individuals do. Burnout in people with ADHD is often more intense, with rapid shifts between high energy and deep exhaustion. And on top of that, it takes longer to recover. Additionally to all this mess, because ADHD is often coming together with anxiety and depression, all those things compound can really make the burnout experience much more difficult, much more intense, lasting for longer, and happening more frequently. And I think that recognizing this increased vulnerability is an important step in addressing burnout as a significant health concern, which is why I'm making this video. So why burnout is so common among people with ADHD? Well, because you are probably a dopamine and adrenaline chaser. You need something to be challenging, out of normal, in order to wake up your prefrontal cortex so that you can finally function as a regular person. The problem though is that those spikes of adrenaline are stress for your body. And when you're stressed, those adrenal hormones raise your blood sugar, your heart rate, and your blood pressure. So yeah, you are finally awake, performing so well, but it is your body that pays the price for that. And adrenal hormones are also decreasing your immune system, which is why all of this isn't just about feeling fatigued, but also physically getting sick. Burnout is a state of chronic physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. It's really not a joke, and it's not just a trendy thing. So how ADHD-specific traits contribute to burnout? Your ADHD comes with traits that can give you energy and creativity, but also contribute to burnout. And I'm talking about specific traits such as hyperactivity, hyperfocus, impulsivity, emotional dysregulation, and struggling with executive functions. So basically, all of it can make things worse. Your impulsivity causes task overload, and your hyperactivity and the fact that you cannot rest easily increases your stress levels. In real life, that means that you often take on more tasks than you can realistically handle. You probably often say yes to projects and responsibilities without considering your limits. Now put this together with the hyperactivity, that restlessness that doesn't let you just sit down and chill. Those things together can result in a schedule that leaves very little time for rest and recovery. Essentially, you may be running on overdrive, volunteering all the time for extra work because you cannot say no, or because you felt on a high dopamine mode when they asked you, or I don't know what, but somehow you always end up having more to do than other people. Or you just got into a new project impulsively because it was such a brilliant idea among with another 10 brilliant ideas that you also would love to do. And in the end, you find yourself struggling to slow down. You're not enjoying being all that busy. You're hyperactive. You actually run on stress. Over time, this will of course decrease your energy resource. And yes, you will feel drained. Yet, it is harder for you to recharge because the downtime is missing and you're just somehow not capable of it. With ADHD, challenges with inattention and executive functions in a very simple language mean that what seems easy for others takes a lot more energy out of you to perform. You may find that organizing your day, managing time, or staying focused on even simple responsibilities like work tasks, bills, or household chores, all of it demands an extraordinary amount of effort. This happens because your brain is actually constantly busy to fight distraction, to fight all those extra thoughts and ideas and impulses. And on top of that, your brain is busy pushing through procrastination in order to achieve what others just decide to do, get up and do. At times, you may even decide to resort to procrastination, which is a coping mechanism, because when you don't believe you can complete the task and when you realize how your ADHD symptoms make you perform less, you preoccupy yourself with one single detail because somehow you're thinking, maybe unconsciously, that if you overdo this one thing, this will compensate for the difficulties that your ADHD creates in general. Like, for example, you have to do a presentation and you really struggle to do it, but if you focus so much on the perfect font, for example, you somehow convince yourself that through this, you show everybody that you really care, you want to make the effort, you're not lazy. Here you are doing your freaking best for that font 3 hours in a row. But then the problem is that you still have to do the presentation, which is why very often people with ADHD actually end up doing more work than neurotypical people. Yet you may experience missed deadlines because you put too much on your plate, or frantic last-minute efforts because you procrastinated the main activity, and of course an ever-growing list of unfinished tasks. Over time, this continuous effort to keep up with everything, it will lead to burnout. And your trait to hyperfocus deserves a little bit more attention. This is your ability to dive deep into something at the expense of all your basic needs. You don't want to get up to eat, to drink, to pee, to sleep, to get any rest, nothing. You are just zoned into that thing, no matter how irrelevant it may actually be, for hours. While hyperfocus can sometimes lead to bursts of remarkable productivity, it often comes with a high price. And after intense period of concentration, you may experience something that psychologists call hyperactive hangover. This is the complete depletion of both mental and physical strength. This state of exhaustion may last for days or even weeks, leaving you unable to function at your usual pace. And even if you know that and you hear it now from me, you are still very likely to continue to push yourself through long stretches of work during hyperfocus, because that's one of the ADHD curses. It's the all or none behavior, and it's very difficult to balance. On top of that, there may also be an underlying anxiety about taking breaks, basically worrying that if you stop, you may lose the precious focus. So you keep pushing yourself even when your mind and body desperately need to rest. And if you have ADHD, you may notice that your emotions feel like a roller coaster. They're just out of control, very intense, very exhausting. Every frustration or minor setbacks can trigger strong feelings of anger, anxiety, or sadness that seem hard to control. And this isn't a sign of you overreacting. This is a normal part of how emotional dysregulation works. If you could easily control your emotions, you would just do it, because you don't enjoy those extreme emotions. It is not fun, it's draining. And on top of all this, you may often find yourself struggling with self-doubt because you're constantly thinking that you will fail to meet expectations. This persistent sense of inadequacy acts like internal pressure cooker, gradually wearing down your mental resilience and again, contributing to burnout. In fact, research has shown that the fatigue many adults with ADHD experience isn't just due to workload, but also because they face higher levels of emotional strain. You often feel shame and guilt because you cannot do things the way others do them. And this internalized failure and unrealistic expectations make burnout not just more likely to happen, so more frequent, but also a lot more intense when it does happen. So yeah, I truly believe we need to talk about burnout more often. And if you also find this video helpful, somewhere below I'm gonna leave a link to my Patreon. If you want to join, welcome. If you don't want to or you cannot, put a comment or a like in the video, because then that helps the Mr. Algorithm spread this video to more people so that more people can see it and hopefully benefit from it. Thank you in advance, and now let's talk a little bit more. So overall, burnout is a very common struggle for people with ADHD. But it is not inevitable. You don't have to go through this experience. I believe that by understanding the unique ways how your ADHD contributes to burnout can help you spot the signs on time. And preventive medicine is always cheaper than actual healing. So by understanding how to see the signs, you can act on it on time and never get to the point of having to drag yourself out of the darkness and the drained, horrible experience of burnout. Which is why the next video of those Burnout ADHD series is gonna be on the symptoms of burnout and what to do to prevent it. And until then, remember that taking care of your mental health is not a cool thing to do. It's a necessity of your long-term success, especially if you live with ADHD. And if you want to watch another video on bad habits that just drain us, I'm gonna leave a link to something I filmed some time ago. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, and I see you next time.